Hello everyone, welcome back to Bumble Stitches. My name's Nicola. This is episode 10 and I'm really pleased to be back with you all today. It's Sunday the 12th of March. It's a little bit overcast here in Ipswich where I live. Hopefully we won't get too many light issues. I just wanted to say thank you for coming back if you are a returning viewer. Thank you ever so much if you're a new subscriber. And if you're checking me out for the first time, then a big welcome to you. It's been quite a busy couple of weeks since our last podcast. Lots of exciting things have happened. I've had a birthday, which was lovely. And I had the most amazing time at the Curious Handmade Country House Retreat. So I've got lots to share with you. A little bit of knitting, a little bit of sewing, quite a lot of shopping. But my excuse is that it was my birthday. So yeah, my resistance was quite low when it came to all the lovely things that were tempting me. Okay, I'd just like to let you know that we do have a Ravelry podcast group, which is the Bumble Stitches podcast group, which quite a few of you have found. So we've got quite a few members now, so that's coming along really, really well. I'm on Instagram as Nicola_Kerridge, so you can follow me on there. And quite soon I will have an Etsy shop, so that's in the making, shall we say. So I'll let you know details of that as soon as it's available. Okay, in recognition of the influx of new subscribers that I had on the podcast recently, it was coming up to 100 and I thought it was an ideal opportunity to do a little giveaway. So lots of you from the last podcast went over to the Ravelry group and posted in the thread that I set up there. And I asked you to tell me about your favourite podcasts. And it was great because there were lots of existing podcasts that we probably all know about, the big ones that thousands of people follow. But there were some other ones in there that people were mentioning that I hadn't heard of. And I'm sure some of you guys reading those threads hadn't heard of either. So there's lots of new podcasts for us all to watch. So thank you everyone who posted in that thread. Now, obviously, the reason I asked you to go and tell me what your favourite podcasts were was to enter in the giveaway that I have been running. We're now up to 117 subscribers as of today on YouTube, which is amazing. I'm really, really happy that so many people are joining me and I'm not sitting here talking to myself in the spare bedroom, which would be a little bit strange. But so thank you all that have subscribed and all that have taken part. Now, I'll just show you the giveaway prize again. So the prize for the giveaway is one of my handmade project bags, which is shown here with some patchworks of Tilda fabrics and some navy blue linen. It looks a bit like denim, but if you can see, it's actually a really dark navy linen. My little Bumble Stitches label, which they make me so happy every time I get one out. They really make me smile. And the little bumblebee on the zip pull there. The bag's been lined as well. This one's got star print cotton fabric inside. So it's also patchwork on the back. So there you go. So that's the project bag. Big enough, I would say, for a 2 skein project. Maybe at a push you could get something 3 skeins in there, but probably more comfortable at 1 or 2 skein project. So that's part of the prize. And the other part of the prize was the sock blank from Kate Celine. So earlier this morning I locked the thread on Ravelry. That was a learning curve. I didn't even know how to do that, so I had to search on the help section of the Ravelry forum. Locked the thread down. We had 33 posts, one of which was my first post, so 32 entries. So thank you everybody that entered. I really do appreciate you taking time to do that. So should I just shut up now and tell you who the winner is? Because if it was me, I'd be getting super excited by now. So I did a random number generator between 2 and 33. And the number that the random number generator gave me was number 28. And that is a post by Chili Nanny. And she says in her post, it's Becky, by the way, is Chili Nanny on Ravelry. So thank you, Becky, and congratulations because you've won the giveaway. She says, "Hi, Nicola. I love your podcast. Thank you, Becky. And so pleased it's going so well. Other favourites, I guess, in addition to all the ones that people have mentioned previously, are Sarah at A Dorky Emu. Love Sarah's podcast. Amy at Stranded Podcast, and the Good Old Grocery Girls. Becky says she's poorly at the moment and podcast and knitting are saving my sanity. Well, I hope you feel better, Becky. I hope that the prize and winning the giveaway cheers you up, makes you feel a bit better. So this will be winging its way to you. If you want to drop me a direct message on Ravelry, or I think you follow me on Instagram, so you could drop me a message on there. Just let me know your address, and I should be able to get to the post office tomorrow, so I'll get this straight off to you. But congratulations again, Becky, for winning, and thank you to everyone for taking part. So hopefully, as the podcast grows, we'll have some more giveaways in the future. So congratulations again to Becky. I'll put that safely for you over there. Okay, so what else has been going on? Not a lot of knitting actually, which is a bit of a bad thing when you're doing a knitting podcast. A little bit of actually ripping out projects that weren't quite going to plan. Lots of shopping, I think that was the main distraction, and lots of excitement about going to the retreat, and lots of busy sewing going on because I took some of my project bags along to the retreat as well, and I'm delighted to say they all sold out, so that was pretty amazing. I was quite nervous to take them along, some quite accomplished sewers there, but I took 6 bags along in the same style with the one that Becky's won. 3 in the navy blue linen and 3 in a natural colour linen, all with patchwork design. And yeah, everyone loved them and bought them, so I was really pleased about that, and it spurred me on to get the Etsy shop up and running, get some more bags made. So I've ordered some zips. Really good fun ordering more fabric. I think that's a bit of a rabbit hole that you can fall down quite as hard as you do down the yarn shopping rabbit hole. But yeah, it's all exciting stuff. So I'll be getting some of those sewn up, get an Etsy shop up and running, and I'll let you know when that is, when it's all good to go. So moving on to the knitting and non-knitting. The first thing I wanted to share with you is, this is living in my little Mrs. Brown's bag with my little sheep pin from Paper Stories from Polly. This is my speckled shawl, and this is the one that I have been knitting on for quite a while. If you've been watching the podcast, you probably feel like you've witnessed this from conception to all through its life, but we are getting there, so that's good. I've completed all the stockinette section, which is in the lovely La Bien-Aimée yarn in the Romance colourway. It's looking a bit of a lighter pink on camera today. I think it's the light in the room, but it's more of a much warmer in real life. And I'm finally onto the border section. I'm just going to try and hold it out on the, it's upside down obviously, I just want you to see. So this is now Garter Stitch border, and this is in the lovely Nora George, Dobby colourway. I think that's knitting up really nicely. I've got a little bit more to do on this repeat here to form the shaping, and then there's an I-cord bind off, and that'll be complete. I can't wait for it all to be blocked. So I think it's going to be a really nice, easy to wear shawl. So hopefully next week, or next time I podcast at least, that'll be an FO to show you all. But it's a lovely pattern. It is, I'll put it in the show notes. I'm doing show notes on the Ravelry group now, trying to be a good girl and get all the information out there for you all. So I'll pop a note on there if anyone's not familiar with the pattern, but it's called Speckled and it's by Parisa Landluft. So that's a whip that's hopefully going to be a finished object very soon. I've also got, I had the tiniest little bit of yarn left of the pink, and the Dobby yarn I think is going to be plenty there, and probably leave me a little bit as well, because after going to the retreat, I did mention on the last podcast that I'm seriously considering, or was seriously considering, doing the crochet granny stripe blanket that lots of people have been sharing on Instagram, and having seen a couple in real life at the retreat, stunning examples of those blankets, it's made my mind up. So I need to get that cast on. Is that the correct terminology for crochet? Cast on? Doing a chain of 300 plus stitches is not very appealing, but I was advised to do a, what's the word for it? It's a foundation crochet cast on, where you actually, rather than doing a chain and then hooking the trebles into that, you just start off doing the actual foundation row without doing a chain. So I need to investigate that on YouTube and get some tutorials so that I can have a little go at doing it that way, and then start working some of these scraps of different yarns that I've accumulated into a granny stripe blanket. So that'll be quite, I think it'd be a nice little project to just keep, you know, when you're not quite sure what you want to knit on, or you just have a few moments. I think crochet is very easy just to pick up and put down. You don't have to worry about finishing a row or anything like that. So yes, so that will be coming soon too. Other works in progress are the Snow Melt Mystery Knit Along. Now lots of people have finished these already, and I saw some beautiful examples at the retreat. If I keep saying retreat and driving you mad, I am sorry. It was the most exciting thing that has happened for a long time. Some of the ladies there had done test knits for Helen of Curious Handmade of this design, and they had their examples of the shawls there, and they were absolutely beautiful. Lots of different colour combinations, and once the shawl's blocked out, it looks stunning. You've probably seen it on Instagram. This is where mine is at the moment. Bit bunched up on the needles at the bottom. I'm just starting, or I had just started clue 5, which is the sort of the final clue. Got lots of stitch markers in here because I do seem to have a bit of a struggle with even quite basic lace. I need to work on that a little bit. But yeah, I made a bit of a mistake, and I think I do need to tink back one row and just get that final clue started again. I think the problem with me is that being at a retreat, there are lots of distractions. There's lots of other nice projects going on that I want to look at. Lots of talking, lots of eating, lots of shopping. Yeah, I'm not very good at concentrating on things if I'm not sitting on my own, or, you know, at home knitting in my usual environment. So I think this is something that I need to just finish off now and get it off the needles and get it blocked, because I can't wait to see how it, because it's all looking quite sort of like puffy and textural here, but once it is blocked out, I think it's going to look quite nice. So I'm looking forward to that. And I think the general consensus for quite a lot of people actually at the retreat is that simple things are best, because you can chat and enjoy yourself and not necessarily have to concentrate too hard on what you're knitting and just sort of lock yourself away in your own little world. So yeah, that's why I think all the crochet blankets were out. So that's my Snow Melt Mystery Knit Along. I have shared the yarn before on the podcast. I don't want to keep repeating myself and bore you all to tears. But this was knit with the Paper Stories yarn from Polly on Etsy. These are the two main colourways, and this was the neutral, which is a Rowan Fine Art. So I think I'm going to have quite a lot left. So these will all end up in the blanket, I'm sure. Won't go to waste. So hopefully next week we'll have 2 finished objects. If I had 2 finished shawls, I'd be really proud of myself. Next actual knitting is something that we did at the retreat, which was a really lovely workshop using, I'm just going to try and untangle it a little bit. And this was a workshop run by Elizabeth of Blue Bee Studio, using Quince & Co. Sparrow, which is 100% organic linen, and the yarn I chose is in the Nanny Berry colourway, quite an odd colourway name, and it's 100% organic linen. Did I just mention that? Now linen, I love the look of it. I love linen as a fabric. I love knitted linen garments, but I'd never actually used it as a fibre to knit with before, and apparently has some quite sort of unique properties to it. Obviously, first thing you notice is it feels completely different. It's got a very, almost like a crunchy texture to it. So Elizabeth in the workshop gave us some hints, gave us a lovely pattern, which was to knit a bath mitt. So the sort of one that you pop your hand in, sort of like a wash mitt really. So this is what we did. I don't know if you can see the pattern. The light is behind it. Trying to get that so you guys can see it a little bit better. And this is a star stitch, which is knitting up really well, and I think the texture is what makes it work, certainly in this linen yarn and for the item it's intended for, which is the bath mitt. Probably sort of be nice and almost exfoliating when it's finished. This was using a provisional crochet cast on, so we all swapped. First of all, Elizabeth laid out a whole spectrum of colours from the Quince & Co colour palette for this Sparrow yarn, and that was the difficult bit, choosing which colour to do. They were all beautiful. There wasn't one that I wouldn't have been happy to have used. So I went for this colour. We then had to pass our yarn to our neighbour so they could cast on with our yarn, and we cast on with the other neighbour's yarn, so that you had a different contrasting colour. And it was a crochet provisional cast on, with the idea being that you then knit a plain row and then start your pattern, and then at the end you can rip the crochet cast on out for your finishing technique. Now it was quite good timing that Elizabeth taught this technique, because I had on the last podcast shared a cardigan that I was knitting for Ava, my little cousin, for her birthday, and that had a provisional crochet cast on to it, and I hadn't done one before, and I think I got the crochet cast on bit right, but the pattern then went straight from that cast on into the pattern itself, which involved a little bit of stockinette and then a bit of a lacework panel, and then onto the next piece of stockinette. And at the time I did think it seemed a little bit clumsy, and as I knit the garment down I got to only about 2 or 3 inches, and it just didn't look really very neat to me, and I was a bit concerned and thought, well, hopefully it would block out. But having had the hints that Elizabeth gave us with this project here, she said it would always be a good idea to do just a plain knit row immediately after this cast on, and then commence with the pattern instructions from there. Obviously this other pattern didn't do that, so I decided that as I hadn't knit very far on it, I would just rip it out and start it again using that hint that she gave us. So hence me feeling like I've gone a bit backwards with my works in progress this week. But I think it'll be worth it to make sure that the cast on and the start of the garment is as neat as I can make it, especially as it's a gift for somebody. I wouldn't want it to look messy, and you know, we invest a lot of time and money into our knitting, and you want the finished product to be as good as you can possibly make it. So yeah, I have ripped it out. I'm going to start again, but it's a new technique that I've learned and hopefully refined on my first attempt at it. So I think that's what doing classes and things like that are all about. If you can take one thing away from it, then yeah, it's done its job. So that was fabulous, and it was so nice to be given the choice of yarn. Very kind of Quince & Co to donate that yarn to her for us at the retreat. So another little bit of knitting. I do need to get this finished. Some of the other girls have finished theirs and popped pictures on Instagram, and they've come out really, really well. And I think they got the bug and decided that they would quite like to knit a whole stack of these wash mitts. So moving on from that, I think that's probably all the works in progress that I have for you this week. I feel like I'm rushing along a little bit. Okay, so at the retreat we also had a lovely project that was designed by Helen Stewart, which is got my hand over it, the La Vie Kerchief. And Helen designed this especially for the retreat. And I think if you go to her Ravelry group, which is the Curious Handmade group on Ravelry, she's put a link to this pattern. I can't remember if it's free or otherwise, but do check it out if you like it. There's a lovely picture on the back there, and Helen was modelling it at the event. And it's such a stunning little shawl, cross between a shawl and a cowl, I guess. And the reason she designed it is because the lovely people at the fibre company had brought some yarn for us all, which I will share with you now. And we could each choose 2 skeins to make the little kerchief project. These are the colours I chose. And I didn't cast on at the retreat because I had quite a lot of things going on already. I didn't want to mess it up really. But quite a few of the ladies did, and almost, I think some almost got it completed there. It's quite a quick knit. As I mentioned, the yarn is by the fibre company. It's called Luma, and it's more of a summer weight yarn. It is to a DK weight, so I recommend to be knit on about a 4mm needle, which is US, is it 5 to 6? Yeah, I think so, according to this. Now, the fibre content of this yarn is 50% wool, 25% cotton, 15% linen and 10% silk. So it's a really lovely blend, and you can see it's quite a plump yarn with a nice, fairly loose twist to it. This colour is amazing. This is called Ciel, which, if I'm not mistaken, is that French for sky? It might be. I'm not great at languages. But yeah, so that's from the fibre company. And the other colour that I got to sit alongside it is called Breton. We have a French theme going on here. So I thought they'd sit quite nicely together and go with all the sort of, you know, go with jeans and a t-shirt in the summer. And of course the pattern's nice, a nice easy wear with the stripes and the eyelet detail. So we were really fortunate in that that was all given to us, part of our goodie bag at the retreat. And I think on previous retreats they have sewn project bags. But this time Helen and Meta, the ladies that were organising, got these baskets for us all. These little woven baskets to use for our projects. Drawn to this lovely sort of Tiffany blue colour with the grey. It's quite a decent size as well, so you can pop. I just popped my couple of skeins in, which went quite well, my pattern. So I think I'll probably work the project out of this basket. And they were particularly drawn to this. The company that provided them were the Sew Just shop, to show you there. And basically, these baskets were woven in Kenya. I'll just read this from the card here. Most of the weavers are women and are the main breadwinners of their families. Their primary source of income is through subsistence farming, but when the rains are too late or don't come at all, the crops fail, and for these families and communities this can be devastating. Basket weaving provides vital additional income and promotes sustainable farming practices. And my basket was made by Leela. So it's a really lovely sentiment, a really worthwhile project that's been supported by the Sew Just shop. They are on Facebook, Instagram, and they've got a website which is sewjustshop.com if you wanted to check that out. So I thought that was a really nice touch, to have something that had been handmade and was, you know, supporting a really, really worthwhile project over in Kenya. So there were lots of goodies to be had at the retreat. We were absolutely spoilt rotten. We didn't have to lift a finger. We were provided with amazing food, tea, homemade cakes, and just really thoroughly looked after and thoroughly spoiled. You know, from the moment that we got there until the moment that it was time to leave, the whole thing was a complete joy to be part of. And the venue itself at Melmerby Hall in the village of Melmerby in Cumbria was absolutely breathtaking. The backdrop of the Cumbrian landscape, which for me was just amazing as I drove up there to see the landscape changing. certainly where I am in East Anglia now, and having come from London before, not used to seeing hills and mountains and such sort of rugged scenery as that. So yeah, it was absolutely stunning. And I guess the highlight really was all the people that attended. Such a lovely group of ladies, totally welcoming to someone that hadn't been before, as many of them had been to the retreats before. Made me feel very, very welcome. So yeah, I just would highly recommend it to anyone that has the opportunity to go on anything that Helen organises, because it was absolutely done impeccably, and I would hope to go back another time. Another highlight of the retreat was a mini marketplace that's held one afternoon, and it's where anyone that's a maker, pop it back on there, can take along some things that they've made for their fellow attendees to buy. So that was really both exciting and a bit nerve-wracking. Obviously I had my 6 bags that I'd made, so you just fidgeting a bit, to take with me, and I was a little bit, oh, do I get these out now? Because the lovely Danny of Little Bobbins was there, and she brought some of her handmade project bags. And Danny's bags and her level of skill and her sewing needs no introduction. I'm sure you've all seen and maybe lucky enough to own some of her work. And the thought of my bags being put out alongside hers was a little bit nerve-wracking, and I did think, oh, do you know what, I'm not even going to get these out. I'll just leave them and give them out to friends and family and do that. But I did, and everyone was very supportive and very kind, very complimentary, and by buying them all, that's kind of sealed the deal. So yeah, it was a bit nerve-wracking, I must admit. But the nerves quickly went when I saw some of the goodies that everybody else had brought along to sell. So I'll show you what I've bought. As I said, please do bear in mind it was my birthday and it was my first retreat. So yeah, I did have a little bit of a indulgence there. First thing I bought was Helen Stewart had designed a pattern, which are these beautiful socks called the Apple Blossom socks. And there's another picture on the back, which I'll show you. She had the socks there in person, if socks are people, but you know what I mean, the actual socks were there. And they're really lovely knit, and because of the way the pattern runs, it sort of makes a rib as well, so they'd be really comfy. I like socks in that sort of style because they're really comfy around your, sort of hug the contours of your feet and ankles, which is nice for the fit. And that came with a skein of the Apple Blossom yarn, which had been dyed by Hedgerow Yarns specifically for this project. And I know that Helen said there were a limited amount of these available, so the fact that I managed to get one, I was really excited about. This yarn is absolutely beautiful. It's 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. And the colours in it, some really nice little dark speckles of green, lighter sort of spring greens on that natural base. It's really, really soft. I think the socks are going to be beautiful. Sorry, that's blown out a little bit there. So yeah, I was delighted to have got one of those. Came in a little bag as well, a little bag, and stamped little hedgehog on the bottom. And I think there's a little lavender bag in there as well, in that green to match. So that was a really sweet little kit. So I need to get my sock mojo back up and running and get those cast on. Something else that I bought. You're all going to start oohing and ahhing now. You can tell who made this. I'm sure it needs no introduction. This is a little sheep drawstring project bag by Little Bobbins, by a lovely Danny. And you've got a little stamp with Little Bobbins on the back. I just love this fabric though, the little sheep, which has been machine appliqued on there. So cute, and the matching fabric at the top. And I also picked up as well, I've not even untied these yet because they look so cute in a little bundle, was a little matching lavender bags to go in project bag. So that one with the sheep and the one underneath I think is just the plain fabric, and again all stamped with little bobbins. Just adorable, how could you not? So the two of them together was just completely irresistible. So I treated myself to those. So I think the new socks, when I cast them on, will be living in here. And they smell just amazing. I love lavender bags. So that was another purchase. Something else that I picked up, quite simple, but I loved it. Elizabeth, who did the linen class with us, her company has said is Blue Bee, and she had these little ruler and needle gauges with her, with a little wooden, the little bee sort of engraved into the ruler. So it's got a handy little needle gauge on there, and handy for me because it's got inches as well. I know we should all be working in centimetres, but I do prefer inches, and centimetres on the other side. So that was a really cute little buy, and ideal just to pop in my project bags as I'm working. And something else that I purchased was another sock kit. Now this, sorry, leaning forward, this is a series of patterns that Julie at Suffolk Socks has designed, called School Socks Rock. And what Julie's done is she's designed these sock patterns, and they depict the terms of school. So they are spring, I'm just going to try and get them in order so I can show them to you. So they were spring term, summer term and autumn term. And what Julie has done is she got Maya at the Wool Barn, whose yarn is absolutely amazing, as I'm sure those of you that have bought it are aware, to hand dye some yarn specifically for these School Socks Rock collection of patterns. Now the one that I've got is the summer colourway, 75-25 superwash merino and nylon, and you can see the colours in this are really pretty. It's a natural base, it's got some pinky tones in there, some little dark flecks of navy, some flecks of grey, there's a bit of more heavily sort of speckling there. But how beautiful is that? So, and with the kit, I don't know if Julie's still got some on her website, in her shop, which is Suffolk Socks, but do check it out, because if she does, it's well worth getting, because in the kit you get a linen bag, the 3 patterns, so you've got 3 choices of pattern there, the yarn obviously, and you also get a little notebook, little sort of school book, and some of these little light bulb safety pins, which are handy for using as stitch markers on your work and progress keepers and that kind of thing. But the little notebook is really cute. I thought that's quite handy to keep in a project bag. It's just a little blank notebook, but the fact it says this book belongs to, with a little owl, just to bring that school theme through, it's really clever. So yeah, check that out on Julie's website, which is Suffolk Socks, as I mentioned, and see if you can grab yourself one, because just the fact that it's got Maya's yarn in makes it amazing, and to get 3 patterns as well is super cool. So that was the purchases from the retreat. I also had a few purchases before I went away. I did cite birthday again as the main reason for these purchases. Another Hedgerow Yarns skein was purchased. I just love this tissue paper that's used for packing these skeins up before they head out in the post. How cute are they? And this yarn is so pretty. I was actually sitting in the hairdressers. The hairdresser was just about to whisk me off to have the colour washed off my hair. I was just checking out on Etsy, so flung my phone at Lulu and said, pop in my PayPal password as soon as that comes through, because I didn't want to miss out, because I know some of her updates go quite quickly. This is Sparkly Singles 4-ply yarn. Colourway is called Jaipur, 95% superwash merino, 5% silver stellina. And look at the colours in this. It's like a fiesta, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing. Everything's covered in here. Green, blue, pink, purple, yellows, beiges, browns. It's absolutely all going on in this skein. I'm just going to take the label off so you can see it properly, because it's completely stunning. So if you can see all those colours going through. So I'm not sure what this is intended for yet. I'm very much of the opinion that you don't buy yarn with a purpose in mind. You buy yarn because it makes you happy. And this certainly did that. So it might be a shawl teamed up with a solid, might be socks. I haven't decided yet, but it was so beautiful. I had to have it in my stash just to love for a little bit before we decide on what it's going to be. So that was a little treat that came before I went away to Cumbria. I also, on my travels, travel quite a lot for work, and I was on the lookout for yarn stores in places that I go to that I haven't visited before. One such yarn store that I found on my travels was the Yarn Dispensary, which is in Faversham in Kent. And if you get a chance to go, if you're visiting Kent or you want to make a special trip, that yarn store is absolutely staggeringly beautiful. It's an old, as the name sort of would make you think, the Yarn Dispensary. It's an old pharmacy or apothecary, that type of building. It's even got an old big huge brass pestle and mortar hanging outside the shop, and inside is all fitted with the original little tiny drawers with little pulls for all the pharmacy ingredients that they might have used years ago when they were making medicines, the original floorboards and beams. It's absolutely beautiful to be in there. They also, at the same time as having all their wonderful yarn, had the Pom Pom magazine trunk show in there with all the knitted items from their latest magazine, which was there before it headed up to Edinburgh for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So it was, yeah, a really good time to go in there, because seeing some of those garments hanging up in real life rather than just in the magazine was lovely, because it was a couple of them that I really felt very strongly drawn to. Gillian is the, I can't remember her husband's name, but Gillian was the lady, the owner of the Yarn Dispensary, and she was very good at enabling me to buy some lovely hedgehog fibres yarns. So I picked up, I'll show you first of all, I picked up a couple of skeins, full skeins of hedgehog. This is Skinny Singles, and the colourway is called Dusk. It's this lovely dusky sort of rose, vintage rose colourway, which I think is really pretty. Love that colour. So I got a skein of that, and to go with it I got this skein, which is Film Noir, and she said it's one of their most popular colourways. As soon as it comes into the shop it sells out, and with hedgehog steel being all hand dyed, she said they have to wait quite a while until they get restocked. And what she does, she said she has quite a lot of customers that want to get straight home and start knitting, so she pre-cakes some of these skeins of yarn. So that's why this one's already wound into a cake and this one's on the skein, but both sort of brand new from the shop. So I'm hoping to put these two together and team it with this little sock mini, which is in graphite. So I'm thinking that these three together will make a really nice combination for a shawl. I was originally thinking about doing Party on My Needles by Joji Locatelli, but I think that needs two skeins of one of the main colourways, another skein for the stripes, and then a colour for the edging. So obviously don't have quite enough here. So having had little chats with ladies at the retreat, I've decided I might have a go at Helen Stewart's 100 Acre Wood shawl, because I've got enough here to do the striped version with these two skeins, and I can still do the border that I wanted to do in this little graphite mini. So I think that'll be a cast on coming up soon. So I've got those three skeins, and while I was looking at the sock minis, I grabbed these two. One is Boombox, which is this one with the neons in and the speckles. Super pretty. And this one is Teacup. Same sort of idea, natural base with speckles, but a little bit more muted pinks and browns, a little bit of blue in that one as well. So the reason I grabbed this one is because I bought the Pom Pom magazine while I was in there. It's the latest issue. I love Pom Pom magazine. It doesn't always have lots of content that I would necessarily knit, so I don't always buy it. But this, having seen the items at the trunk show there, this shawl on the front was kind of the main reason that I bought it, and this mini skein. I'll show you inside so you can see what I mean. So that's the pattern. It's called a Rosa, and the detailing with the little mini skein in that boombox colourway, if you can see that on the edge, I thought was so effective, so pretty. So I grabbed the mini skein off the boombox. The actual shawl calls for the Ghost colourway in Hedgehog Fibres, which they didn't have any in stock, so that was a bit sad. But I have got on order a couple of skeins of yarn from the Wool Barn in their natural sort of undyed colourway, which I think will work perfectly. I think it was the alpaca sock that I picked up, so that will be here soon. So that's the plan, to knit the shawl in the Wool Barn with 2 skeins of their yarn and use this sock mini for the edging. But I thought it was such a good idea, and I guess you could apply it to lots of patterns. If you had a mini that you particularly liked, just do the bind off or the last couple of rows in that, just to give it a completely different look. It was really, really effective. The other pattern that I particularly liked in here is this cardigan called Miel. Was it Miel or Melly? Oh, Melly, because I've got it back to front. And that is absolutely stunning. It's a sort of a cropped cardie, but such a pretty pattern. That was knit in, I think it's in La Bien-Aimée DK weight. Yeah, La Bien-Aimée Merino DK. Sort of a kimono style, it says. I don't know if you can see the stitch pattern on there. It's beautiful. I would really, really like to knit that. I don't know if I would knit a sweater quantity worth of La Bien-Aimée. I think that might be quite expensive. But certainly for me, this particular issue of Pom Pom had some really, really nice garments. I'm just flicking through. There was this sweater as well, which I thought was lovely. I don't know what that one's knitting. Plucky Knitter Primo Sport, that one's called Odonata, which is lovely. And sorry, this has turned into a Pom Pom review here, but there are so many nice ones in here. But yeah, it was the shawl that's kind of stole my heart. So yeah, so that was another little treat as well, but I think that's going to be quite well used. I think that's all the, finally got to the end of all the purchases. So I need to just be a bit of a good girl now. I've got a couple of Yarn Club orders that'll be coming. But hey, you know, it's only yarn. There are a lot worse vices I could have. So I think I've probably been talking for far too long already. Just to recap, hugest congratulations to Becky for winning the giveaway. So please contact me and I'll get your goodies on the way to you. Huge thank you to everyone that entered, that took the time. Because I know what it's like. Sometimes you see things on podcasts and you think, oh yeah, I'll do that. I'll enter that, or I'll, you know, join in, and life happens. You don't always get time. So thank you for taking the time to do that. I do appreciate it. Thank you for watching the podcast. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for listening to me witter on about all the lovely things that have been happening lately. Do keep an eye out for my next podcast. Hopefully I'll have some news on the Etsy shop and the project bags that are coming up. Hopefully all the new fabric will be turning up, which is really exciting. And have a really lovely week, or probably 2 weeks before I see you. I'd like to try and do a podcast every week, but I don't know realistically if I can manage to juggle everything. But at the very least, I would hope to be with you at least once a fortnight. So thank you, everybody. Take care. Happy knitting. Bye.